Content warning. The stories and themes shared throughout this podcast may contain themes that can be distressing for you. If needed, please pause and do what you need to do to take care of yourself. If needed, please reach out to a mental health professional for support.
Welcome back to another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana. But pause the Alana and bring in Barri. Oh my gosh, Barri. She's my unofficial mentor in the professional grief space. The moment I met her, I fell in love. We have a lot of similarities with our career paths. I love her vibe. She's one of the most stylish people, and I got to meet her in person, and I can't wait to see her again in person coming up. But she is a well-respected grief specialist, author, and founder of The Memory Circle for those learning to live with loss. As a coach, educator, and advocate, she holds transformative gatherings and workshops to explore grief tending tools and techniques that foster community, hope, and healing. She's a recovering journalist with stints at the Chicago Tribune. That's so Canadian of me. The Chicago Tribune and and Chicago Magazine. Her work's been featured in the Washington Post, Psychology Today, Maria Shriver's Sunday paper, amongst others. Her popular Substack, Permission Granted, shares more of her personal essays and looks at life and loss through a modern lens. Her writing is amazing. Go follow her. Her links are below. She honors her dad today, who died in January after living with memory loss and Alzheimer's for a decade. And I am so honored that we've shared her story in Resilient AF Stories of Resilience Volume 2, and she's going to be in our forthcoming book. Well, by the time you listen to this, maybe the book's already out, but Resilient AF Skin Deep Stories. So welcome to the show, Barri.
I'm so glad to be here. It's so much fun and also such an honor. I think collaboration is the best part of our work in the world, and you make that so effortless.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I really do believe humans are meant to heal as community, and grief is so individualized and it can be very isolating. So I believe as a griever, we should heal together, but also as a grief and resilience expert, I believe in lifting while I climb. And, the more people that we can help, the better, because especially now, it's so heavy out there.
It sure is. It sure is. And I don't really want to do it alone. I learned that lesson while grieving. In 1993, nobody said grief or grieving, and I lost my mom suddenly. I was lots of things she knew about me. I was a publicist. I then later was a journalist. She knew all about my writing and all about all of that. And I think the story that I told myself back then was she'd be good and pissed if I defined myself in any way by her death. And it did define me. And it took me a really long time to realize that I wanted her to continue to know me, to be proud of me, to have that connective tissue. And so with every motherless daughter that I would meet along the way or griever, I mean, it felt like it was tapping, but I wasn't answering. I was a little afraid, and I'm so glad I made the break.
So in 93, your mom passed away. First of all, what's your mom's name?
Ellen. I always ask that.
I know. And I've started doing it because of you, because I think, one, people always use the past tense, like her name was. It's actually, no, it's still her name.
Mm-hmm.
And people light up when you ask them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, one of my favorite practices, which I've shared with you, is that I'll often order my takeout or a coffee. I giggle when I order bubble tea because it's so not Ellen, but I use her name when they say, name for the order, and hearing it ring out, we need to continue to talk about them and bring them into our everyday conversations. It keeps her alive. And it really is so much fun. It's an easy thing, an easy grief tending tool.
And again, I do that because of you, and I only just started. And the first time I did it was Sharon. The person, maybe you've never heard the name Sharon before, and they spelt it completely like Sheren. I was like, that's unique. And they yelled out Sharon, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then on the way to Winnipeg for the high holidays, I did Len, like my dad's Leonard, but I was like, I'll just do Len. And it was just fun. And I'm like, this is when I remember to do it, if I go in person at Starbucks or a coffee shop,
Yeah. Yeah.
not only do I like do it but I always think of you because I'm doing it because of you. And it is really nice. And I think it's a beautiful way to feel the presence of those who are gone.
And ritual is the way that I have learned over time to connect to my mom, to carry her memory forward. And now figuring out what that looks like for my dad, it was like, pumpkin spice day on my dad's birthday. And so it was super fun. It was the first time I had ever done it in my dad's name. His name is Neil. And it was really fun and funny, and everything else about like our gathering was kind of crap. We were like, we can't eat there anymore. Like the food isn't good if we're not with dad. Like a lot of things that we did with him, we felt like it was like some kind of a sign for my dad to be like,
Hmm.
yeah, don't go back to all those spots without me.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and so I know you've recently lost your dad. You lost your mom in 93. Let's talk a bit about Ellen. Tell us about Ellen and what your life was like at that time when you lost her.
I was in my late 20s, and she was healthy, 50, took the day off, called us all. We were all in our places, as I always say. I was tucked into a PR agency that I started that she knew all about. She had just moved my sister into her very first job, an apartment in Denver. She was giddy that she had scalped US Open golf tickets for my stepfather. She was like so excited. She thought it was like breaking rules and nearly illegal. And she took the day off, and she didn't go to the normal place where we usually go to the beach, which was like a club where she played like Scrabble, not a fancy place, but like everybody in New Jersey sort of has a place where you hang your towel and your swimsuit in a locker and whatever. And she didn't go there that day. She went to the public beach, which is called Sandy Hook. It's a beautiful national park. And she fell asleep in her beach chair. She had an aneurysm, and we only found out because the sun set on this day, and a couple was there and knew that they were about to leave her alone and thought she had just slept. And so we're tapping her on the shoulder and couldn't wake her. The woman happened to be a nurse, which is incredible. But because it was all before cell phones, they had to find a payphone and 911. And she was very much gone by the time they found her. Um, and we knew she wanted her organs donated. And so they waited until my sister and I got there to sort of make the decision, and all of our goodbyes that I would have changed entirely, knowing what I know now. It was so shocking. It was so traumatic. And nobody really asked if we needed to talk to anybody. Nobody called it sad, overwhelming. Like, I just think, what the hell were the grown-ups doing? Like, and they were grown-ups. People treated me like I was one too. I had just lost the most important person, most unbelievable woman on the planet. I don't know where, now I look back at it and I'm like, they all thought I would be okay. They all thought, you're strong like her. You have lots of lessons from her. And it's really heartbreaking now. Like I look back at the year now through the eyes of my daughter when she turned my age. She brought it up to me. It wasn't even a milestone that I knew I was reaching until she told me, Mom, how old were you when Grandma Ellen died? I also love that we call her Grandma Ellen. She was never a grandma, but I also impart her wisdom by sharing with my girls Grandma Ellen stories. And she kept reminding me, like, how much you need a mother at every age, I believe, but especially in those formative years, like your prefrontal cortex, like just came online, and
Yeah.
you're having to deal with all of this. And the one thing that I'm really sad about is that people did say, you can't speak at her funeral, like it'll be way too much. And I'm so sad about that. I've written the eulogy that I would have given and shared it and published it. And, I've tried to sort of recreate and reconstruct what I'm very sad about.
Mm-hmm.
And um, yeah, I just think the way that the world met me at that moment was, it wasn't even that the world was grief illiterate. It was just unspoken. It was completely unspoken. And you went on with your life. My stepfather went back to work, and so we took his lead, and my sister got on an airplane, and she's 5 years younger than me, poor thing. And I went back to running a public relations firm and fashion shows during Fashion Week. I mean, now that I look at it, it's just so sad to me. I have a lot of empathy and compassion for little Barry.
That's really hard. It's really, really hard. And like in 93, like I don't know what support was there. Like I was only 8 and I don't remember any conversations around grief, even when I was 20 and my aunt died. And so knowing that that happened, your mom was, hopefully peacefully, at one of her favorite spots, which is a beach. She,
Totally.
went, and then you and your younger sister now have to navigate this world without your mother, your most important person. And there was no one talking to you, reaching out for support, sending you books, and there was no like links and stuff to send.
No, it wasn't a year. It wasn't until a year that Hope Edelman published Motherless Daughters. I have to say, it was a whole year later that there was even really a book. I met a therapist a few years ago that was really an analyst, like a genius woman, who said, the story that I told myself was no one was talking about grief and grieving. And she says, my dear, I was most certainly in practice and talking to my people about grief. And so it was there. You just had to seek. And I think if you were not falling apart, I looked strong and together, and I got the message from the world around me. The stronger you are, the more you get feedback from the world, and that's kind of the loop that it creates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I look okay. I'm signing new business. I'm going to work every day. I'm, you know, I guess eating, sleeping. Like it was very basic. And
Yeah.
my insides were screaming. Like I would walk through places like Grand Central Station and see people going up escalators and down escalators and be like, where the fuck are you going? Don't you know my mother died? Like that's what I just wanted to scream.
Mm-hmm.
Now sometimes I imagine a world where we're all wearing a t-shirt that, says exactly what we're ailing or what we're sick with or who we've
Yeah.
lost. And like, then we meet each other with like the same kind of humanity and empathy that you and I meet one another because we share grief as like a language we speak.
That's so important. And I think now with the access to social media and websites, like the speed at which information can be in our hands is so much faster. And I can't even imagine what it would have been like for you to be hit with this grief and also not even knowing what resources to look for. And
No
how
one
do you
even
find them?
suggested it. Like there wasn't so much as a pamphlet post funeral or anything. Like really, I comb my memories for someone saying grief or grieving, and it was not available. Zero.
What do you wish? What do you wish? Like one, I mean, there's probably lots of things, but what do you wish that you knew then that you know now?
I mean, when I cracked open Motherless Daughters, I knew I wasn't alone. I think you cognitively know that. I was not the first girl who had ever lost her mother. I was not the first 27-year-old that had ever lost a mother. I I wish I had a support circle.
Hmm.
I wish I knew even one other person to talk to about it. I would have felt so much less alone. I had my sister. So we were this incredible island. Like she knew everything that I was missing and I knew everything she was missing. But also as the eldest, I felt a lot of maternal responsibility for her.
Hmm.
And I have goosebumps when I say that. I really did. I just poor little Dana. Like, I just thought she really needs her. I didn't think that so much for myself, but I did for her deeply.
Yeah. And it's hard because now you feel this pressure to be there for your sister, but who's being there for you?
My mom's sister was very much there for us, but she was also missing her sister. So it was
Hmm.
very, it also made me feel like the sad girl in the room if I spoke about my feelings, which I know now is like we must be seen, heard,
Hmm.
witnessed. I needed my story witnessed. I
Hmm.
needed. And so when I found those stories on the pages of that book, and I just thought, someone knows. There's someone knows this Hope Edelman person. This person knows.
Hmm.
And fast forward to now, I have sat shoulder to shoulder with Hope and been on motherless daughters retreats, helping support her with other motherless daughters. Like, I never had anything like that. So I think I can't even imagine what my grief would look like if I had had that back then. I don't know how different it would be or not, because it taught me so much,
Yeah.
right? It taught me so much.
Well, look, you created the memory circle.
Yeah.
And like that, like, how was that created? And did your mom have a hand in that?
um, I I started yoga teacher training. It was sort of just to deepen my practice. I've been doing yoga since around that time, early 90s. And I just wanted to get curious about why. I wasn't certain that I would ever teach, but it was such an important part of how I processed
Hmm.
feelings. Like, I knew once my feet hit that mat, it was sort of like my magic carpet. It was like safe. The people were community. When I walked in, someone knew whether I had been away or I was there. The teacher knew your name. There was just a lot about that felt good. And there was something spiritual about it that really was like pretty religious for me, if you will. Like, that spiritual
Hmm.
presence was in my life. I think it's so funny because I think also my mom would have been kind of laughing about it. Because although she was very lots of parts blue, I think it would have been a funny thing, like, oh, you're going to yoga again. Like, I think it would have been funny. But when I did my training at the very end, we had to name what is called sankalpa, which is your heart's greatest desire. It sort of aligns with your dharma, your energy. It's sort of like how I describe when you have like a full body yes. It's just like you sit up straight in your seat, and you know it's right, and you know it's on purpose, and you state it in the future. And so mine was, I will start a motherless daughters circle. I will sit shoulder to shoulder with those who have experienced loss. And there it was. I mean, it was sort of, and still is, what I think of as the memory circle. I didn't name it. I just had a couple of events pre Mother's Day. I thought Mother's Day was like the hardest. I would curse the aisles, of the Hallmark store, and anywhere there were cards, like it would come earlier and earlier every year. And it would just make me so angry. So I was like, especially after I had kids, I was like, what if we took back Saturday and had these events on Saturday? And then on the Sunday, that's Mother's Day in the US, we would have our day where others wanted to celebrate us, because I really just wanted to disappear in the past. Um, and over time, I saw a shaman at a friend's suggestion. And one of the things she said to me was, you must collaborate. And that has also been one of those guiding words, lights, biggest part of my work. That led to like first ever podcast with a dear friend and amazing human, Elena Brower, who happens to be my sister's college roommate. She was the only one I knew that had a podcast. She had all these famous authors on. I was like, driving down Lakeshore Drive, if I could collaborate with anyone, who would it be? And her name came into my mind. And I wrote her and it like was a boomerang how fast it returned. And I got an intake form from her assistant, and it said, "Is there anything else you want us to promote?" And it was a lengthy intake form. Out of my fingers, like magic, came the memory circle. I like shouted out to my girls, "Look up Instagram and see if the memory circle is available. Look at GoDaddy, see if the memory," like before I hit send on the form, I just wanted to make sure that it was kind of free and clear. And I booked an event to promote Camp Erin. It was a free grief circle at a new studio that a friend had opened called The Space Between, my friend Darren. And she realized in my doing so that her mother had experienced mother loss at a young age, invited her mother, sort of saw it through my eyes, appreciating her mother's experience that she had never really noted, And Darren gets a call after she puts it on the calendar, and it's from a woman who's a practitioner there. And she says, "Hey, this woman, Cindy, who does yoga here, called and said she wants to know if you want to collaborate." I was like, "Wait, what?" So it turns out Cindy is a medium. Fast forward, she lives in my town in New York now. We both met in Chicago back when. So I said, "I would love to, but I need to make sure this person is not, a kook." So I paid and booked an appointment with her, and I walked in and she said, "Your mom's been here all morning." And at the very end of our reading, she sort of dismisses like all the energies and angels and spirits and guides. And, she's sort of closing out our appointment. And she says, wait. Ellen has one more thing to say. Don't make it sad. So mom was completely on board. And I think my worry always was it would define me as the sad girl, and my business would be like the business of being sad. And I knew otherwise from even the very few circles that I had done that it was more like being a hope dealer. It really was much, much less about sadness and just giving people a place to put it down, process, be with it, swim in the soup, sit with others who get it. And I just knew it was anything otherwise. And I knew it was a need because people would say there's nowhere to go for this.
You're such a pioneer, and I love it. And I love this story. I love that you're a hope dealer and that Ellen said, "Don't make it sad," because there's enough of that.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it is sad, but it's a sad that is so universal in so many ways, right? There is this, I feel like I was born a little bit bittersweet, if you will, but it's like, to me, it's like a sad song or crescendo in music that like brings tears to your eyes. I think I'm just so attuned to those big feelings. Like I'm so easy to tears. And I was often called like, "Oh, you're so sensitive. You worry about worrying." But I feel like it's empathic. And in that same reading, my mom told the shaman that she was sorry she never fostered my gift. So I think my mom knew that I had this intuition, that I had this intuitive guidance that I knew, and I used it in work because I feel like I could smell trends a mile away. Like I used to know what was coming next, and I used to get really excited, kind of like, what's next, what's new. There was like this woman called Faith Popcorn that you all have to look up because she was a futurist, and there was so much about that intrigued me. But I also had a lot of proof in the world working in fashion and beauty and branding that my instincts were spot on. And it was outside of creativity. It was like sort of this knowing, this hunch.
I love that. And so you're featured in our book, and one of your tattoos is featured. Tell us about it.
So on the morning of my 50th birthday, I didn't have much of a plan. My mom died at 50. I think the year between 49 and 50, the story that was on loop in my head was what if this is all you had left? What if this is all you had left? What if this is all you had left? And I can't remember anything like giant I did that year, but when I woke up on that morning, I turned to my husband in bed and said, can you call Harlan? My husband has a sleeve of tattoos. Can you call Harlan and see if he'll see me today? I want to get my mom's signature on my wrist. And I wanted it on my left. I'm a lefty. Both parents were righty. Both my sister and I are lefty. And I wanted it on my left hand because of that, but also because it was close to my heart. And Alex didn't say anything about why I was going. And Harlan said yes, and whatever time it was. And I went that afternoon and brought him a little sketch. He had to open up some of her loops so that over time it wouldn't close in on itself. But I guess by law, you have to have an ID, even though he knew me. And so I handed him my license and he said, today's your birthday? And I said, yes. And then I told him the why and the whole thing. And he said, oh, that's on me. And I was like, oh, Ellen loved a discount. And it was really just so funny. It was very sweet and lovely. And I think my mom would be absolutely horrified that I got a tattoo. But I think we also make those kind of like middle finger choices in life. Like, you're not here. I'm going to do this anyway.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Well, as soon as my mom died, my sister and I both went on Accutane because our mom would never let us. And I was like, she's not here.
Right? I mean, I know. I mean, I moved from New York to Chicago. I think I thought I could outrun my grief and said yes by moving away. But she never would have let me leave the tri-state area. If she were alive, that would not have happened. And I think of all the things that happen because of, not in spite of, but because of. And I see all of those, not because everything happens for a reason, because that makes me shake.
Like nails on chalkboard.
But my friend Kathy says that which is right is unfolding. And that really resonates with me, that when I look at how it all unfurled, I believe so much of it to be true. Like, I didn't grow up and be like, I know what I'm going to be when I'm older. I always wanted to be a writer, but I never in a million years would have thought that I would be a grief specialist and train with Hope Edelman and train with Claire Bidwell Smith, people's books who I had read later in life that were life changing, altering. And and that ink has meant so much to me, and it has opened so many conversations everywhere I go. That's also interesting. It's like a little invitation. Yeah.
I love it. I love the tattoo and the meaning behind it. It definitely resonates for similar reasons. I have my mother's signature, and that's something you and I both bonded on.
Yeah.
There's something so special about having the writing on us permanently, and it brings that feeling of comfort. And I'm right-handed, and my mom's signature's on my arm, so it's like anytime I'm creating and doing things, she's with me. And I don't know, I absolutely love that, and that, you were able to take your experience and build this career and this path. And I want to fast forward to recently, to January. You lost your dad, Neil.
Yeah.
And this was a different type of loss.
Yeah.
How do you think losing your mom and the work that you've been doing in the grief space laid a foundation for you knowing what was to come?
I had lots of presence. Like, I knew from the day that he had a mild cognitive impairment diagnosis that I was on a ride, that I was going to soak up every last memory we had. And I think I was already, it's ironic that the memory circle was named what it was, because after my mom's death, I became sort of a keeper of memories. She was so much more a doer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really like her days had like 26 hours and everybody else's had 24. She was always doing. She was like last at the beach and last at the mall and like soaking it all up. And we were always running on E in the car. And she was like, my dad, the memory circle to me then meant holding all of the memories so tightly as we were in it, and learning about caretaking and decision making on his behalf. And as the eldest daughter, I had some really hard conversations with him that I'm not sure my siblings would have been ready to have. And I think that came from my work also, because I'm like the bossy older sister. But yeah, what do you want? What's best for you? You know, if you can't make decisions on your own, we have to make them for you. What are your wishes? And we really knew. And I think that creates what I call clean grief. Like, I will always miss him and can't believe there's a world in which Neil David Leiner does no longer live. But I knew that everything he wanted was what we were carrying out. We were also his advocates. We fought for dignity and educated people along the way. I shared our story. And at the same time, I really met him exactly where he was all the time. Mm-hmm. But I had this sort of built-in little reminder that we were making memories as we were going along. So I had oodles of pictures. I didn't want to forget like the cadence of his walk. I wanted to hear "I love you more than the whole wide world" in his voice, which is another tattoo that I have on my side because he signed every letter.
I was just going to ask, what are we doing for Neil?
Yeah, he signed got it already. And I got it when he was alive because
that's amazing.
I wanted to show him and see if he remembered. You know, we remembered for him. We told him stories. We told him stories about himself. Like, I was so present in grieving while he was there and knowing what it was going to be like, or at least guessing what it was going to be like on the other side. And 50 versus 86 was hugely different. It felt like a very full life. I was very sad about the 10 years that I feel like this guy with this brilliant brain, incredible advertising creative who had worked on the very first breast cancer drugs and so many breakthrough ad campaigns and won awards and was beloved by clients. You know, I was so sad that to see his creativity go, but like little lights would shine. Like his sense of humor was like so spot on and so quick. And every now and again, we would just know he was in there. I got to read him essays aloud that I wrote and share, you know, the resiliency book and essay I wrote about him. And there was just so much that I had this newfound awareness, and even calling on palliative care and calling on hospice and filling out a whiteboard in his hospital room. Like, my name is Neil. Call me Neil. I have dementia. I wear hearing aids. Like we learn how to advocate in such a way that it makes me so proud now to share what we learned. I have two brothers. I hate to call them half brothers. My dad remarried and had twins with my stepmother, and my dad's he called him all his social media was like Grampsy 4, and like he was very about the four of us. And so I always say, like, the Leiner 4 was a force. We were connected, cohesive, all for one and one for all. If one wasn't comfortable, we didn't do it. And we all had our own strengths, you know? My sister said I had the boxing gloves on and, was sort of everywhere we went, like really fighting, not just for my dad, but sort of the advocacy of all elders and all elders who show up at the hospital who have memory loss. Could we have training? Could we, can we do better? Can we do better?
Hmm. I think that's absolutely beautiful, and Neil is so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
And may Neil's memory be a blessing. And I can't wait for you to show me your tattoo when I see you.
Yeah, I
Hopefully
will.
in November, but for sure in January.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and I think it's like Ellen was giving you these gifts to prepare you
Mhm.
and to leave that legacy. And how lucky is Neil to have you as a daughter and the, siblings you have. Like what a gift that is.
And we were all there on the day that he died, and we played his favorite music, and I encouraged everybody to take photos, holding his hand. Like his
Hmm.
hands were like, there's something about hands in our family that are just, you never forget what it's like, those hands that hold your hands. And I tell that to everybody. I have a friend that's going to visit someone today who is dying, and I said the same thing. Take pictures of your hands together.
Oops.
Yeah, it can be so beautiful just to have that and remember. But my mom was before social media. My dad was like, the guy was on social media. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I have so many pictures and such a large digital footprint. Um, I'm not like a giant fan of having my photo taken, but I think about it for my girls. Like that is part of memory making. Like I want
Hmm.
them to have that when I'm gone too.
And what a gift that you recognize that. What a gift.
Is it a gift?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah,
I know that when I'm feeling really griefy, I turn to a shoebox of photos, and I
yeah.
only have so much online, and like Instagram deactivated our mother's Instagram account without any sort of warning. And so like that felt like this whole new grief. And so taking photos and putting them somewhere where, maybe you're developing them or putting them in
Yeah.
books, like having like the physical memories, you
Yeah, we
know.
need to print them. Like if you're listening and you don't have a little framed picture on your, bedside desk.
Mhm.
I also love when they're around the house like that because I'm like passing by them every day.
Yeah.
They're part of home.
Yeah, and I love now the technology. You can just like, oh, you had this experience, like it's like a vacation or, and there's multiple pictures. You can just print them in a book and have that on display.
Yeah.
Or, and
I
you're
have
not,
one in my office from a vacation that we took with dad
yeah.
for his 80th birthday. It's like, him under this like waterfall, like the water in him and like his living his best pina colada life. Like he
That's
really,
amazing.
yeah,
My mom used to complain because there was never like there wasn't a lot of pictures of me, my mom, and my sister in our adult life. And
yeah.
right before the pandemic, we did a trip to Palm Springs, and there's this company called Flytographer, and it's my friend's company, and I love it. But we booked a photographer, and we did a photo shoot in the desert, and then like a couple weeks later, the world shut down, and then she died. So we have
Oh,
these really beautiful photos, which was a gift that we got for mom. So we
yeah.
got actually this final photo shoot, and it's like I wish we had more. I wish we started earlier. Like, and so if you're listening, like listen to Barry and me, like take as many
We know
photos as
now.
possible.
Yeah.
Like we know now because you can't just like make new photos. I mean, with AI you can, but that's weird.
Kind of freaky. Yeah. I
Oh.
wish I had also asked like all the relatives for the pictures they had of my mom.
Mhm.
Um, I get surprise ones every now and again, which is such a treat. Like her old boss at the real estate firm, her daughter was like cleaning out the mom's things and found like a picture of my mom that I had never seen. It was like a headshot of some sort that my mom took, and another one from some fundraising event. So every now and again, like I get like a little sparkle, a little sprinkle. So if you know that there might be some people that had photos of your loved ones,
Mhm.
ask them too. Sometimes I make appointments to talk to my mom's old friends so I can,
Oh,
connect.
I love that. It's so being Jewish. I don't know if this relates to you. I had a bat mitzvah, and like for us, it was a trend to like have these poster boards, and so you'd have pictures, and then everyone would sign it. And my sister, because my mom doesn't exist anymore. Well, she's not. Her house doesn't exist anymore. So my sister has like my stuff up in her house, like because I'm not going to carry some of this stuff across the country because inevitably I'll probably end up back here at some point. But and I have my own room here. But my sister has my bat mitzvah board up. And I spent time yesterday looking at all the messages. And I found the one from my mom's mom, who's no longer here. And I found the message from my mom about being so proud of me, which is a common like theme, which is what inspired the tattoo book, which you're going to have to read the book to learn about it. My dad's message was love dad. But it's just like seeing the writing and the messages from this is 1998. Yeah, it might not be the photo, but it's like this message that is there. And it's the same thing. Like if you find old birthday cards, like I used to never keep birthday cards. If I find a card that was written from someone that is no longer here, I keep it now because I didn't care about having that, but now it's like those pictures and those notes mean more.
I have this on my desk, and I've posted about this, but my friend Lisa realized that when she lost her friend Cindy, she didn't have any notes from Cindy. And so she started this thing called the Orange Envelope Project as a tribute to her friend Cindy. And she sent everyone who had meaning to her in her life and told us why in this little project, so that we have a written card from Lisa to honor Cindy. And it came in this giant orange envelope. And I posted about it with Lisa's permission because this is a very easy way to honor someone. It's a great thing to do if you're honoring the memory of someone you've lost. But also, I was so touched reading about how I'm perceived by Lisa while we were all alive. Thank you very
Uh,
much.
whoa, I love that. Can you send me
Cool.
that social media post?
I will.
So I just had this idea because I do a lot of traveling for the work that I do because I don't have kids and like I have this like freedom and I do a lot of work in the grief space, helping grief trips, co-facilitating grief trips. And I'm like, you know what? I'm bringing back sending postcards and not just to I'm going to send them to myself. So in the moment, if I'm having a moment, I want to write a postcard to myself and send it. But I'm going to start sending postcards to the people I love again. And
I
and
think also bring mom into the conversation. Like,
yeah.
what if you wrote postcards to heaven? Like, they don't even have to have an address, but
Yeah,
just the
or I could
idea.
write them to mom and mail them to me.
Yes, yes, that's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah, but I
I
mean
think
postcards also it's like a, from like around the I don't know. Anyways, I just recently had that idea because I was like, like I miss getting non-bills in the mail. I'm like, I'm just gonna start sending myself mail. Like, I mean, I'll send it to Shane, but it'll be to me.
yeah,
You know.
I love that.
Oh, I love that too. Okay, so we're getting close to time here, and I feel like I can talk to you forever because I can. And I really like, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. And you are, I'd say, one of the pioneers in the grief space, and you're my unofficial like mentor. And I look up to you, like my big sister in grief, me and B and me, double B. What advice do you want to share today to someone who's going through something similar or something that they can relate to in your story?
People often ask me for parenting advice, especially motherless mothers. And what I always try to impart is find ways to be proud of yourself. The thing that I lost the most when my mom died, she was my greatest cheerleader. So too was my dad. But there was something about their affirmation because Ellen had a really high bar in the best way. And I missed so much the idea of her being proud of me. So it's kind of twofold, learning to be proud of yourself and not waiting for opportunities to be remothered.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the nurturance that's lost, sometimes it feels in the beginning that you have to go it alone because you've lost the person that used to be like the world's greatest collaborator and cheerleader of your entire existence. And you have other relationships, and I was married, but there was just something about that mothering feeling. And for a very long time, I didn't allow it. And sometimes it's because I felt young or immature, like I had missed out on something. And so I had questions, I needed advice. And I really thought like there was something between needing to go it alone and toughing through and riding solo, and then really having like weird feelings about betrayal to my mother and I don't know, even awkward female friendships because of it, that I feel like do not wait to find opportunities to feel that sense of remothering. Notice when you're feeling held and feeling that way, because you need it, and we all need it.
And I love that advice. And like, yes, like I know as someone whose mother is gone, like I will take all the mothering. I'll take all the mothering. Like I saw a childhood friend the other day and her mom gave me the biggest hug and it just felt so like I'm at home.
Yeah.
And I think that advice is so important. And also being proud. Like that's how this all started, with a tattoo of my leg that says proud of you, which was from my mom. And I think that's so important. And I think of Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg makes this speech. I think he's getting the Walk of Fame star. And he goes, I'd like to thank me for me. Like it's like,
Yeah.
be like Snoop Dogg. Be proud of yourself and like acknowledge it out loud and share it.
Yeah. I tell my girls, I'm like, I'm so proud of you, but I want you to be proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your name is on that work. You know, they'd say to me, do you think it's good? I'm like, do you think it's good?
Yeah.
Be proud of the way that you show up in the world, and be, like you said, be proud of you. The voice that we listen to the most is our own.
Hmm.
Be kind, be proud. Yeah, I think a lot of the connection that you and I have made, to me, the way you reflected back to me feels like there's like lots of maternal undertones. And I think sometimes we can confuse it as a motherless daughter. I lost my mom a long time ago. I don't really know the difference between mentoring and remothering, and
Well, that's all semantics.
it is.
But I
It,
mean, yeah, but it's like it's a friendship. It's a friendship, and I believe that we take care of one another when we need it, and that is mothering.
mhm. It's a kinship, and it has nothing to do with kids.
Yeah,
It's like we're all mothers,
yeah,
you know? Mother
I love it.
Nature, like all of it. I think we all need to be nurtured, and wherever you can get it.
Yeah, Mother Nature, motherfucker, all the mother.
Exactly, all the mothers. Ellen was she'd be so proud of you. She was,
Oh,
cursed like a sailor, and as do I. So
yep.
yeah.
Hey, yes, yes, Ellen.
Now there's science. I wish she had lived long enough to know that, like, scientifically it's like smart and also great for emotional release.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Barry, this has been a slice. All of the ways to contact and get in touch and follow Barry as in the show notes. You can read her story about her Ellen tattoo in Resilient AF Skin Deep Stories. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you. And thank you to everyone who tuned in to this episode. Just remember, you are not alone. And it is okay to not be okay, but let us be that lighthouse in the storm. We can walk this life together. And friends, just remember, you are resilient AF. That's a wrap for another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana. And thank you for listening. Are you feeling inspired to bounce forward?
Let's connect at theglobalresilienceproject.com, where you can read many stories of resilience, buy our books, shop our clothing line, learn more about how to strengthen your resilience muscle, be empowered, and more.
Remember, friends, you are resilient AF.